In this video, we will be continuing on the Don't Eat the Yellow Snow series in C and SDL2. If you are just joining us in this video, you will need to go to GitHub, Programming Rainbow, Yellow Snow C SDL2, and you'll need to clone that repository. And we will be working with the source code from the last video, which was video number 10, but we will be working in the source folder. So you can delete this folder and copy this and rename it video number 10 so we can continue on, or you can just copy the source into this source folder, however you want to do it. But this is video number 11, and we will be using the source code that we ended off with in video number 10. Okay, so this video we're going to be creating a title screen, and we will be working with a user created, we'll be making our own event to kind of handle this. So in the last video where we were playing around with our target FPS of 5,000, let's switch that back first so we get to something more reasonable. Okay, so we're going to be doing two things in this video. We're going to be creating a text, and we want to animate the text coming down, and then we also need we need a user event so this title screen can actually regenerate itself when the game is over. If the user hasn't reset the game after, say, 5 seconds, we then cause the title screen to occur again. So it's going to be in two stages. The first stage, we're going to be just making the text. So this is very much like the score. So I think what I will do is I will just take the score H and score C, since a lot of this is going to be almost the exact same, and I'm just going to copy those, and I'm going to call them title. So I'm going to copy score H and make it title H, and then score C and make it title C. So yeah, title.h and score. I'll make that title.c. Okay, let's go right away into title H. And this obviously all needs to be title. Title. We are still including main. We are renaming our structure to title. We still need the renderer. We're still going to bring in the renderer. We still need a texture, but this time I'm going to actually hold on to the surface that we're going to be using when we create when we're going from a texture to a surface, and then the surface to when we're going to a font to a surface, and then the surface to a texture. I want to hold on to this the surface because of the way that this is going to get more complicated later. We're going to have two different surfaces, and we won't know how to clean it up with all the different failures that happen. So I'm just going to clean up the surface the way I clean up the texture. I'm going to let the title free clean up the surface, because we don't know what could fail and when it could fail. So instead of just having a temporary surface, even though it's still temporary, I'm going to let it be cleaned up by the title free function. So we will do text surface right here. And I'm going to call it text surface because I'm going to have a target surface later, but that's not going to be in this video. I'll just call it text surf. Okay, and we have the rectangle. We have our font. We have our color. And I want to call this color. We don't need to hold on to the color, so I'm just going to remove it. We will still be using a color. We're just not going to have it here. We do need the rect. And because we're using delta time, I need that position Y so I can update it as a float, just like we did with the other. And I'm also going to have a target Y where I want the text to move down the screen, and then when it reaches a target, I want it to finish that action. So I'm going to have a position Y as a double, a target Y as a double, speed as a double, just like we did with the other ones, and then a couple booleans. We are not going to be holding on to a score. Whoops. Come on now. So we'll call this, we'll call it pause Y, because we're going to be moving down the screen. So we're going to be changing our Y position. And double will be target Y. And a double for speed. And then I want two booleans. I want basically if I'm showing the intro or if I'm just showing the actual title. So the intro, I'm thinking about that as showing the whole animation. And then when the animation is finished, the title still needs to be shown even after the animation. So I have two booleans here. So this intro is kind of just about updating the animation that's happening, basically what it is. So we have our title, and we're pulling in main. We have our title struct. Now these all need to be title as well. Title new, and we do need the render. This is also of title. Okay, and our free is going to be the exact same. So it's going to be title free, and we are pulling in the double pointer to the title. So we will have a reset. So we're going to have a reset, we're going to have a disable, and then an update and a draw. So we can just change this increment to disable. This means we don't want to see anything anymore. We don't want to see the title screen at all anymore. So it's just going to be disabling that for us. And so we have a reset, a disable. We need an update. And so our reset, our disable, our update, and our draw are all void functions. So there's not going to be anything that can fail out of these. We have that T there. I'll fix these real quick. I forgot. Okay, so we have title new. It's bringing in a double pointer to a title rect. We have title free. It's bringing in a double pointer to a title struct. We have a title reset, which is our T pointer to title. We have title disabled, same. We have title update, and then we have title draw, and that will be all of the functions. Okay, so that is going to be, for this video, what our title header file is going to look like. So let's look into title C. We're going to get a whole bunch of errors because of all the names that we need to change. That's fine. We'll just work through it. So this doesn't need to be here because this is in the header file. And this will be title new. A double pointer to the title. There's the render. And here's the calloc of title. Size of title. Check to make sure that it was given space on the heap. Error and calloc of title, of new title. Okay. And now we can make our T that gives us just a pointer instead of double pointers to work with. We're just going to line up the the T for the render. Now with the color, we removed it from the header file, so it's no longer in the struct. Because with the score, we need to update the score all the time. With title, we will be creating the title image just one time. We'll be moving the image around, but we're only going to create it one time, so we don't need to hold on to the color. Okay, and I also want to give the name a color, give the color name, because we're going to be using more than one color in the next videos. So, where's it? So we'll call this the, we're going to use the yellow color, so we'll call it the outer color. So this one, we need to actually create it right here. So let's do this. We'll call it outer color. And it's not going to be white, it's going to be yellow for this one. So to make just perfect yellow, you can change the color to whatever you like it to be, but just yellow is going to be red, red, green, blue. And if we just turn the blue off and leave red and green fully on, we're going to get yellow. So we're just going to change the blue channel. So this is red channel, this is green channel, this is blue channel. We're changing blue channel just completely off to 0. And this is transparency. This is the alpha channel, so we still need that on. So we have this SDL outer color now. We're still making the font. I'm gonna make a couple local. We could put this in the main.h, but this is going to be kind of you probably don't want to change this one in main.h because it's going to be more, you're going to be changing multiple different things that depend on each other, so you're probably going to just want to come in here and change it here. So I'm just going to set them here for the text size and everything, because in the next video we're going to have some more information in here. So we're just going to make an int, we'll call it text size, and that's going to be equal to 100. Okay, so we have our size, we have our color. So we're making our font, and it's the same thing except we're using the text size that we just created. And we could have made this temporary too, but it's just easy to since we already have it in the header file, it's just going to work just fine that way. So we have our T font there. We are still checking that's all perfect. We need to, we're not going to set these here. So for now, we'll just populate the rect with the surface width and height. Well, we haven't created the surface yet, have we? Oh, that's down here. Yeah, we're gonna be totally changing this. So I'm gonna grab this from here, all of this from update. So we've created our font. Now we are going to create the text surface that we want. And I'm going to create a constant string first, real quick, up here. So, and if we don't make this a const, because the string is this is a read-only string in memory, so it needs to be a const. If you're just using GCC or CLang, it probably won't complain, but with the more strict rules that I have, this has to be const. And it should be, because it is read-only, so you might be thinking you could change it later, and you can't. Const char. And we'll call this the just the text. We'll say yellow snow. So that's the string we're going to be using. Okay. So in here, we're taking in our font, we're taking in our color, which is the outer color, and it's also just on the stack here. And now we need this string, which is just called text. And this is T, not S right here. Okay, so we're creating our surface again. We're using the text up here called yellow snow. We're using this color that we created here called outer color. And we're using the font that we've created here. And this is returning a surface. And the surface, we can hold this in the in our struct that we've already created. So this should be T text surface right there. And so we'll be checking it here as our T text surface. Okay, error creating text surface. Okay, that still is fine. So now that we've created the surface and we checked to make sure it was created, we're going to get the width and the height from our surface. And this one is called text surf, and the same with this up here. Okay, so that's populating our width and the height. Now we need to convert this surface to our texture, which we've named image. And we need to use the render that we passed in. And the surface name is text surface. Okay, and we need to check, or we're not going to do this here. We're not going to remove the surface there because it's already in our it's going to be in our text free because we're managing the surface in this one. So our image, we're creating our image from the surface. There we go. We've got a render, we got our surface. We're checking our image. We are giving the error message. Okay, I think that's just formatted. They just moved it down here. And that should be most of that. So we need to, I want to set this text. I want it centered on the x-axis, but I want it directly above the screen on the y-axis. So as in, if I were to take the height of this image and subtract that, from 0, so it's literally sitting just off of the image, off of the screen where you can't see it. It's just about to come down onto the screen. So it's sitting right on top of the screen, invisible to the user. And then it's kind of moved down the screen. So basically I'm going to have a reset, and it's going to be doing that. It's going to be making sure it's centered. And we don't even need that on the reset realistically, but the Y position does need to be set above the screen. So we can set the X position here, and we can calculate that. Just looking. So if we just have T rect and X is going to equal, and we're doing a little bit of math here. We'll take the window width. Window width. Hopefully that's correct. We take the window width, and we're going to subtract the width of this surface or texture that we have. So that will be rect.w. And then we're going to divide this by 2. Okay. And that will put our image centered on the screen. So we have the total width of the screen, and we're subtracting the width of the image, and then we're dividing that by 2. So imagine if we have the whole screen, we want our image right in the middle of the screen. So that's the screen divided by 2. But since our origin is the top left of the image, we need to subtract half of the image. So we got half of the screen minus half of the image. That's almost like if we had the whole screen minus the whole image and then divided by 2. I mean, it's not almost, it's the exact same thing. So that's the way I'm doing that. So that's going to set our X. Now let's set this here title reset, T, and this isn't something that can fail, so we'll just remove the, oops, we'll just remove the if statement here. Okay, so we are going to reset there, and this is where we'll be setting up our Y position. And we have a return false, okay? So we shouldn't be getting any errors in here. Let's just double check. We might get still a ton of errors here, but that's fine. So yeah, too many errors, that's fine, but nothing going on in here, perfect. Okay, so for free, we are dealing with freeing our image. We're nullifying the renderer. Well, we can look at it real quick. So we're going to nullify the renderer, we're going to free the image, we're going to free the surface, and we're going to close this font down. So these four, this one is just nullifying it, but these three right here, we are managing ourselves. So let's make sure those are all cleaned up correctly. So this is title free. And double pointer to title. Okay. In here, we're making sure title exists. Okay, so this, we're just grabbing the pointer to it here. We don't have to do this. We can dereference it every time. It's kind of your choice. So we have the closing the font, and then we are nullifying the font. Now we're destroying the image. We're nullifying the image. And we also need to free the surface. And that is called T text surf. That's what we're putting it here because this is going to get complicated, and we always want to make sure that we free it so we can just manage it. We know that it's always going to be freed on the way out here. So, and we'll nullify that. And we're setting render to null. We are freeing ourselves. Just make sure there's no S's happening in here. Okay. And this step right here doesn't need to be done if we are dereferencing title the entire time. But since we've created this local, again, it's a minor thing. This local pointer is going to go out of scope anyway, but we're just nullifying it. But this title that gets nullified here, this is what's the actual title that's being held in the game struct. So that is our title free. That's freeing everything we have. So our reset is the one that's going to be setting our Y position just above the screen. And it's very, very simple. What we're going to be doing is, if you think about it, it needs to be, if we set Y to 0, it's going to be at the top of the screen, but we're gonna see the text because the top of our origin of our image is also at the top in our screen. So if we put it to 0, we actually see the text on the screen right at the top of the screen. So if we were to subtract the height, so if we just made it minus height, then it'll be just out of sight of us. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say t rect.y equals, and we'll just say minus t rect.h. Okay, so that's going to set it right above. But now we have this other problem that we actually are going to be controlling it with the position y. So so we need to set that as well. So, and I believe there's no problem with going from an int to a double. We don't need to it's implicit. We don't need to explicitly tell it to do that. It's when we go the other way. So if we say pause y equals trect dot y, we should be fine, because we're actually going to be always updating the y, but we need these two synchronized. And when we reset the title, we want to turn our two booleans on. We want to turn on the show title and the show intro boolean. So both of those are going to be turned on. And also this is a void. So we can do that, and we can get rid of this guy. Oops. So let's turn both of those on. So that's t show title equals true. This needs to be title t, and this also needs to be title reset. So title reset, our structure title, we have a pointer t, so we're setting the y to minus height. That just gives us right above the screen. We're making sure we're synchronizing our double for position of y to that same position. Now we're turning on our show title, and we're going to turn on our show intro as well. Okay, so that is going to make those two happen. We have this other thing that before in my mock-up of this code, I put it in the reset, but it doesn't need to be in the reset. It can be right in here, which is setting the target for our y. So we're setting our x, but I want the text to move down the screen until it hits right in the center of the screen, and then I want it to stop. So I'm basically going to be updating my y position and checking to see if I've moved past the target yet. So the target is going to look very much like this x. It's going to be, but it's going to be the y. So we're going to call it t target y equals, and this is going to be the same thing. This is going to be, and this will complain because this one where I'm doing integer division here. This one we will need to cast it, but we'll see that in a second here. So I'm going to say window height minus t rect height, and then divide that by 2. Oh, here we go. Result of yeah. So it's the exact same for both of these, but this one I'm holding it as an int. This is a double. So I'm just going to cast this before the division happens, but it's not really going to matter. It doesn't matter to me if it's off a pixel, but anyway, it's still this number here will be cast to a double, and then the division will happen. Or we could say like 2.0, but I'll just put double here. Okay, so that, because this doesn't need to be reset. This is the X position is always going to be the same. The target at the center of the screen for my specific image is always going to be the same number, so it can just be calculated once in the new. And so my reset is really just resetting the Y position and turning the flags back on. Okay. So update is not going to look like anything at all. Update is just going to be us moving down the screen. So I'm just going to get rid of this stuff right here. We don't need any of that, and we also don't need this. Don't need this, and this is void. It's title update. As title and T. So all update's going to do is just move the Y position down until it hits its target. We'll come back to that in a second. Increment doesn't even exist. This is just going to be disabled. We'll just write it in a second here. This is going to be title disabled. We'll just rewrite this whole thing basically. and it is a struct title t, and all it's doing is turning off the flags. That's all this thing's doing. So the t show intro equals false, and t show title equals false. So that does nothing but turn the two flags off. Here we turn them back on, but we're resetting the y. And the draw is very simple as well. But in the draw, we're actually going to put a check on it, because what I want to do is I want to just call the draw from game no matter what, and I want title to figure out if it should draw itself or not. So if this show title is true, I don't care if the animation's happening or finished or whatever, but if I'm still showing the actual image on the screen, if this is set to true, I'm going to draw this. So title draw, and we put the if t show title. So if that is enabled, tab this in. So this will allow me to just call it directly in game and not worry about whether it should be called or not. Title will figure itself out whether it should be called. And I got the render, which is a t render, and I have the image null. This is still correct, and the t there. So that allows me to draw itself, but only if title is enabled. So whether it's moving down the screen or it's stopped in the middle of the screen, if it says it's still should be drawn, it's going to draw itself. Okay, so the update, this is pretty simple too. We're going to be doing, we got to increment the, well, this needs to take in delta time for one. So double dt. And I'm not sure if I have that set in the header. Let me check. Title h. So update needs to also have delta time. Double dt. There we go. Because we're moving something and we need to make sure it's moving correctly. So we're using the double to update itself. But then when we set whatever it is for this frame, we're keeping the accurate track of it in a double, but we're letting it mix down to an int so that it can draw itself. But we're always keeping the correct position as a double. So let's see, t pause y equals plus equals t speed. And we haven't set speed yet either, so we got to do that. So this is going to plus equals t speed times t, sorry, dt. Yeah, that should be right. Yeah. Okay, so we're using delta time times the speed, and that's how we're incrementing that. Now this is just an internal hold for us on the on this double to keep track of it and accurate. But now we need to make the well, let's first, before we even update our rect y, let's see if our position y has reached or passed our position target first. So we'll go if t pause, because again, I want it to move down the screen until it hits the target. So we'll keep updating y position, and then we see if it's got to our target yet. So since it's coming down the screen, I need t position to be smaller than the target number, which we already calculated. Target y. So if it's smaller than that, we want to update our x, right? Yeah, we could have put, yeah. I missed a step, but anyway, we'll get it. So we have our rect dot y equals T pause Y. Okay, so now we're setting that. Now on the else, if it has reached or passed that position, I actually want to disable the show intro. The show intro is just the animation part. It's not the part that's actually showing the text on the screen. It's just the part that's making the animation. So T show intro, I'm going to set that to false. Okay. Now, also on top of this, we can not even do any of these things if this is already false. And that will allow, again, for us to call it from game without worrying about whether it should be called or not, because this thing will be taking care of itself. So we can say if show intro, if T show intro. So if that is true, we actually want to update. And when it updates far enough, it'll disable itself. And I just need another one right here. Okay, so if we call title update, it's only going to update itself if this show intro is set to true, which is just all this is the show intro is just whether title should update itself or not, whether the animation's happening. So we increment our Y, and we don't even set the X if it's past its target. We just set the Boolean to false, and then the next time all this code will get skipped because this show intro will be false, and this thing will never even happen. Okay, so hopefully we got all the bits. Let's see. All the errors disappeared. That's lovely. We could have just wrote this whole file. I thought I was being quick, copying the file over, but actually, well, it gave me a structure to work with, but there was a lot of error messages. So now, let's save this. We need to go over to game. We need to add this to game, and we need to create it, and we need to tell it to clean up, and then we will look at having it draw itself and everything else. So game.h first, and this will be created here. Struct title and title. We need to add it here. Include title H. So that should be everything that we need for that, just those two lines there, adding it to the struct and including it. Now in game C, we need to create it. And this is something that can fail, so it's going to look just like this. Let's say if title new, and sending in the address title, and this will return true if it fails. Okay, so that gives us our that tells title to make itself. Now we need title to clean itself. And it's the same thing. We need to send in the address of that title. Okay, that's there. For this one, we are not the image, the surface, the font, none of it's being held here. So game is just telling title to clean itself. It's none of that stuff is being held here. Nothing else is going on there. And so now we need to think about how well we can implement how this is displayed and stuff. So we really just tell it to draw itself, and it thinks about whether it can draw itself or not from inside of its own. So this is going to be on top of everything. So we'll put it here. And again, this function internally is just going to draw itself if it should draw itself. If not, it just skips. So that's nice. So we can just do that. The update, We are going to make some changes to update, okay? So what I want to happen is when the title comes down the screen, I still want the snow to fall. So this becomes a little bit of a logic problem. I want, if the game is playing or if title show is enabled, I want the snow to fall. But I do not want I do not want the player to update itself, and I do not want collisions to be checked. Ultimately, what's going to happen is I'm going to pull out the flake update, and I'm going to put it in its own. This is player update, sorry, flake update. I'm going to pull this one out. So I'm just cutting it. I'm going to put it up here. Okay, and I'm going to wrap it in its own. So if I still want it if it's playing, so if G playing, right? But I also want, I'm going to use a logical OR, if the not the show title, yeah, the show title, not the show intro, not the animation, just the title. Yeah. If either one of those are happening. So that would be G, and this flag is being held in title. So it's in title, and then show, not intro, but show title. So if either one of these happen, I want the flakes to update. Now they're not doing collision detection. That's a different function. They're just animating themselves and resetting themselves. Okay, so that has been pulled out. Now, the other thing is I want the title to update itself or even to try to update itself only if we're not playing. It's never going to happen if we're playing. So I'm going to put it on the else here. So this one will be title update. And we need to pass in the title. And also the delta time. And this isn't not being checked if it fails or not because this is a void. So yeah, so we restructured a little bit. We pulled this guy out so that we could have two cases just for that guy, just for the flakes, so that they're falling whether title is or playing is happening. And then on the playing, everything stayed the same. Everything else stays the same. But if we're not playing, the title can potentially update itself. It's only going to update itself if its internal flag is also turned on. But if we're not playing, nothing's happening there. Okay, so that is all set now. I think we may have missed something in the title. I don't think we reset it. Or maybe we did. Let me check. So in title, C, the bottom here. Yeah, we do call the reset on it. Okay. So now, so I want to test this out first, but what's going to happen here is I don't, in the past, our game has been started with playing is true. So it's in a playing state automatically. I don't want it to be in a playing state for this one. But then something needs to switch it to the playing state. Well, let's just remove the playing true first, so we can see. So in that's in game, right at the bottom of the game new. Where is it? The first function here. Okay. Oh, we need to pass in the render here. So right here, this playing thing, I'm going to disable it, okay? So we can just see if everything we've been working on works. We've done a whole lot of code. We haven't checked anything yet, so that's not a good thing to do. So let's say make rebuild run, because I don't know what the state of the binary was before this. Okay, a little bit of an error here. Okay, converting double to int, yep. So we'll have to go and fix that real quick. Did I cast that? Oh, I did cast it. Okay, yeah, fair enough. So in title, this again is because of the strict compiling rules I have. If you were just using GCC, this wouldn't be an issue. But in update, when I do this right here, this double to the int, I need to cast this because it's like the double could be way bigger than the int. We don't know what the double is. So this is going to need to be cast to an int. Okay. So we have snow, but I don't see anything. I don't see the title coming down. I can't control the game, so that should be in the mode. So let's go see what we can find. Title, yeah. Let's look at this. Are we calling? Yeah, we are calling title update. Let's just see if title update, intro, reset. Those are both set to true. So I'm going to stick a print statement inside here. So I'm going to know if this update is being called and if it's in the show intro. And I'm going to so let's say y pause. And see what's happening with this guy. Pause. Oh, no. It's a rect. Y. And let's put that new line character in there before I forget. So if we get all the way into here and we've done all this stuff, we're going to get some kind of message on the screen. And then we can also see what that number is that is on the screen. So that'll kind of drill down into what's actually happening here. I'm just going to run it. Okay, so we're not updating. We're just at -100 no matter what. Okay, so, oh, I know why, because we never set our speed. We completely forgot to set our speed. Yep, I set it to 60 because I wanted to be quite slow. So remember, our movement over our flakes and our snowman is set to 300, but I don't want it to move that fast. I want it to move quite a bit slower, so it's going to move 5 times slower. And so this will be 60 pixels per second. Speed equals 60. And I'm just going to leave that printf in there for right now. Okay, there we go. Yellow snow is coming down. And then it stops. And this number is not being updated anymore. But I still can't play, okay? So this is going to move us on to the next thing. See, I can make this play right now, but we need to get into another subject, which is the... Oh, maybe we'll wait on that in the next video. So maybe I'll just make it work, and then the next video we'll get into that subject. We're also going to change this text in another video too, so don't worry about the text being a little bit plain here. We're going to make this bubble text, where it's going to look nice. So let's just make this transition happen from coming down to playing. So I'm going to remove the printf statement since it's working right now. Okay, so we need to activate it when we press space. Let's just check that real quick if that actually happens. Okay, so the game works, but look at that. The problem with it is when we the yellow snow doesn't come off the screen, and then when we hit when we hit a yellow one, the game ends, and so we don't want this to happen at all. So when we play, we want to disable the animation and the showing. So right away when we press spacebar, we want that disabled. timer. Yeah. So let's go into here. We're going to go into game. There we go. Now we're going into the game reset. That's where we press spacebar. We get that reset, right? And in game reset, it's setting playing to true, but we need to disable that whole title screen thing. So we're gonna do title disable, and then G title. Okay, and that will disable that title screen. So when we start playing, the title screen is just going to disappear. And when we stop playing, it's not going to reappear again. Okay, I'm just going to let it do its thing. It's coming down. I can't move the snowman. And now I'm going to press spacebar. Now the game starts. And I'm going to hit the yellow. Now that I've hit the yellow, the game has stopped. And the title screen is not coming down again. So if I hit spacebar again, it still works again. Okay. So since it took quite a while to set this up, the next video we're going to talk about how we can make that title reset itself after a certain amount of time. We're going to make a user-defined event that we're going to push onto the stack, and then we will also make our text bubble text. So that'll look a lot nicer. But we're going to end it for that one. Let's just go over quickly what we've done here. So we've kind of seen all this stuff before. You know, our title H looks a lot like the score, but we're actually holding on to our surface, and we have this position Y, we have the target Y, the thing that we're coming to, and then we have these flags. We also have a thing to disable, a function to disable. We have our update function, draw function. This all looks like what we've seen before. Our title, it's managing itself, that it's handling its own font, it's handling its own texture, and it's handling its own surface, and it's cleaning those up. The update is, or the reset is just straightforward. It's just resetting the Y position, both the rect Y and the double that is the position Y, and turning the flags on. Disable just turns the flags off. Draw just draws itself if the flag is enabled, that it can be drawn. Update updates itself if the flag for updating itself is enabled. And this one is not too different. I mean, we have the speed. We've already seen that. We're making a yellow color. We're just holding it on the stack here in the scope of this function. And we have the size of the text is 100. We have the text that we want is a constant character array here. And then we have, we're making our TTF font like we have before. We are making a surface from a font, a color, and the text like we've seen before. We're getting the width and the height. We are converting it to a texture, and we're not getting rid of the surface here. We could just do it anywhere down here. We could release the surface, but we're doing it we're already doing it here. So if we did that, we would have to set it to null as well. We can do that actually. Right here we could say t text surf, say SDL free surface, and then we need to nullify it, because if we don't, down here, if we freed it but it's not null, when we go down here we're going to get a segmentation fault. So we need to set it to null. Text surf equals null. And we could do a check on it if it's something free it, but that it's already happening internally to the this function anyway, so that's fine as long as we've set the pointer to null after we've freed it. Okay, so and then we're just putting the image in the center of the screen, and we are making a target that the image will come to is also the center of the screen, but that's our target. And our reset is just putting the image right above the screen and turning the flags on. And our update is just letting it move down the screen until it hits the target. And when it does, it turns the flag off. Yeah, that's about everything. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.